So I just want to do a quick video on a general organization of the unit, and I'm going to go through a little bit of detail on each item. So every time a new unit opens, I'm going to have an introduction. Your lecture PowerPoints are going to be grouped together for that specific unit. And then if I find some useful videos or memes that I think are going to help you, I may actually have you refer to them in the labs as well. I separate those by chapter. And then I do some optional practice tests. So these practice tests are not things that you actually have to do. You're not going to be graded on it. You can take them as many times as you want. It's just trying to get you used to how I can ask questions, because anatomy and physiology, there's a lot of terminology. So the way that my questions are worded is by using those terms that you're learning in class. So make sure that you at least take a look at this so you have an idea of what those questions might look like. And then I've got the lab instructions and the lab assignments. So the lab instructions will correlate with the lab assignments. So you always look at the name. So for example, this first lab doesn't have lab instructions. That's probably because when you look at it, it'll actually tell you that you can do it just by going through the lecture PowerPoint. And so if there are lab instructions, those are going to be listed first. And then the lab assignments are going to be things that you need to do. So I want you to notice anything that you actually have to turn in are going to have a little asterisk next to it. So these are 2 lab assignments in this first unit, and then the very last thing is the exam. So in general, it starts with unit introduction, your lecture PowerPoints, helpful videos, practice tests, lab instructions, lab assignments, and then the exam. So I want to go back and kind of talk about what's in each one of these unit introductions. So when you go into the unit introduction, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to tell you about all of the lecture or the chapters that we're going to be going over, a little bit about each one. And then it's going to list all the labs that you need to do. But the important pieces really are below that. It's your open response. So your exams are going to have multiple choice questions, matching questions, possibly some fill in the blank. And then I always have one open response question. It's basically an essay question. I give you a question and you have to write about it. And so I give you information about what that open response question is going to be over. The next thing is going to be, there is a lot of information in terms of what you need to know. There's a lot of pictures, and there's some pictures that I need you to be able to identify the parts on. So if there is a question on your exam that has to deal with identifying the parts, I'm usually pretty good about narrowing down which diagrams that's going to be. It doesn't mean that the other diagrams you don't need to know. You need to understand the information in them, but you don't have to necessarily label them. And so every time that I have a figure, like chapter 1, there are 4 figures, I will actually include a PowerPoint. And the PowerPoint is designed to help you kind of start studying those different areas. So you'll notice that I have these labeled. There's a arrow here that is going to be labeled. And I have all 4 of those diagrams that you need to know. And if you're not sure, there is the figure number at the top left. And then at the very end of the PowerPoint, I basically have all of the structures just labeled 1 through however many questions there are with a blank. That allows you to go in and actually identify each one of those areas. And then I give you a word bank. And if the word is used more than once, I will let you know, used 2 times, or for example, used 3 times. And so that just gives you the ability to print those last 2 pages and go back and just kind of work through and make sure that you know how to label each one of those structures. And then every once in a while, I'll add something else. And here I added just a matching for the definition to the terms. So the terms are here, and this is the definition. So that's just some extra stuff that might help you with studying. And then the final thing that we have here is the objectives. And this is not a study guide. It just kind of gives you all of the information, the big picture items that we're going to be making sure that we cover within each one of the units. So that's the intro to each of the units. And again, from there, you're going to have your lecture PowerPoints. All of them do have audio. If you're not sure how to listen to the audio, go back over to the Getting Started section and how to approach lectures and listen to the audio and the PowerPoints. Then there's going to be, again, helpful videos, practice tests. Both of these are optional materials, and then your lab instructions that go with your lab assignments. And then the exam is the very last thing in each one of these units. And these units are set up the exact same way. So that way you're not having to look around for all these items. They're set up in the exact same way for every unit. So if you have any questions as you're moving through this, please let me know. Additionally, with every unit that opens, there will be an announcement that has a video in it that talks about the specifics of that unit.